Hello everyone. Today's topic is the same one like the last one. Um, the idea of perfection. I gave few examples, then later I thought, and there are a lot of things that came to my mind that usually people do to themselves without realizing, which they do not consider it as too many things. I'll give you a simple example. If suddenly somebody comes to you and tells you that all you have to do is live, you don't have to do a single thing, and nothing is asked in return, anybody would agree. And there is no obligation, there is no responsibility, there is no demand, there is no request, there is no requirement. Imagine just God, or whoever, human, whatever that it is. If you receive a chance to live like a king or a queen without any responsibilities, even you can do whatever you want, what would you do? Now comes to a point when you have a bed and you see that pillow that looks messy, it's not kept properly, the bed sheet is not folded, and the cup that you drank from the coffee in the morning, it's still sitting next to your bed. The laptop is not closed, your spectacles is somewhere there if you're wearing one, or your gears that you use with your computers, all of those things, it's messy, it looks so messy. If you were such person with a lot of trauma, you will most likely think that this is really messy, and you start cleaning up. And when you reach a proper place of your own understanding that okay, now this is okay, now this looks perfect, now this is okay, it is like you are pushing yourself to do certain things that you doesn't require to do on a daily basis, just because of your understanding that this is how it should be, this is how it's perfect, because now bed looks perfect. Yet you long for that. It would have been nice if my life would have been easier. By how we treat ourselves, we give cues to the universe. This is how we are supposed to treat ourselves. When we start to treat ourselves like a king or a queen, universe also does that. It's very essential that we keep our ego away and make this kind of a decision based on purely self-love, self-respect, self-worth, and being authentic. Choosing to do what makes us happy, except for those things like addictions and those kind of things that are not good for you, even if you like it. That is not the thing that I'm pointing towards. Choosing to do the things that makes us happy, which is actually good, and do the things from our heart. Our heart is always connected to the divine world, and certain cues that comes to us through heart, and head says, perhaps head might say, the clash between head and the heart is always because head is connected to logic, it's connected to the body is connected to the outer world is always stimulating something, there is always something that you can observe and react or respond or whatever. We cannot always do those kind of things. See, this is the problem with people who have a lot of trauma, because they are very sensitive to these kind of cues, because they have grown into an adult or being a young adult or even an older person. Their nervous system uh, wired itself in such a way to be able to react in any circumstances, means they have to be alert, and they were put on such a place, in such a place they're being expected a lot from them. So the idea of this perfection uh, shows up in a lot of things, even as the smaller things. That is what I was trying to tell you in the example that I gave. Even if it doesn't have to be in a bigger way. If you have a project work in your office, with your colleagues, yeah, the perfection is also needed, but it's also important that you have to realize, even if you feel like you have done a wonderful job, your senior or your team leader or whoever that's supposed to overview, they may actually show disappointing you. Even if say this is disappointing, it might not actually be that way as well. And even if they praise, doesn't mean that that's actually good. So it's everyone's point of view. Even people who get lot of praises doesn't mean that they have some quality, and somebody doesn't get praises and appreciation doesn't mean that they don't have a quality. It's just that we have to appreciate ourselves, acknowledge ourselves as this is good enough, without being egoistical about it. you know when we acknowledge that ourselves, when we treat ourselves better, universe takes the clue. This is how she treats herself, this is how he treats himself, this is what is acceptable for this person, this is what not is acceptable. So no, the same person, oh no, if you're somebody who doesn't like a messy room, who always keeps the things in the same place so you wouldn't miss it, you know just because you don't want that last moment things where I have kept it, so I don't know where it is, so let's just search in the last moment kind of thing. I don't want to go through that, so I keep everything in the same place kind of a person. And if you're somebody who doesn't like misplacing things, if you want to keep a cup in a particular place in a kitchen, then it should be there. You cannot keep it somewhere else even if it is washed, let alone not washed. It is because your nervous system is trying to control you, because you think you need to be that way to feel calmness in your heart, because you were never led to be that in that peace when you were a kid. Something, someone, some expectations, some indoctrination, some expectations from adults, that kind of a treatment, whether it's religious or social, culture, family system, these adults in the name of discipline. No, discipline is very good, but it should be self discipline. Self discipline based on self love, because it's good for me, that's what I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because punishing myself kind of a thing. It's not. Punishment is not self discipline. If we do something, then it should benefit us. That is self discipline. Means if we are making a intentional goal towards something, a commitment is, then it requires a self discipline to commit to that goal that we have. But when it comes to things like this, what if somebody says, no, yours too messy? What if somebody suddenly comes to your house and comments on it like, it's so dirty, it's so messy, unclean, unkept, not kept clean? It's like people will gossip, they will say anything, especially if you're a female, what they will say, what they will think. Let them think whatever they want. You know, being lazy is completely different. Being lazy is something you're not doing something that you're supposed to do. Knowing that a lot of lazy people actually get by very easily because they're unwilling to put themselves in a hardworking place. Well, they have their own, you know, complaints about life too because of their laziness, but they get a lot of share because they don't work. Hard working is good, but when it comes to certain things, it's very essential for a person. That I suggest that people who grew up in these kind of families where they were expected a lot, they grew up with a very controlling, very criticizing parents and adults, high expectations, no matter what you do, it's not enough, or a feeling of obligations comes to a child while growing up, even when parent doesn't express it very directly. The child either observes and learns from it, or it's being indirectly pushed towards the child that you need to be responsible, you need to be mature, you need to be this, that. This kind of environment turns the kid into, there are a lot of things can happen based on the environment of a family and how a child can react to it. A child can turn into a very timid person, but it can also turn into a bully as well. But those people who grew up okay, they're good people, not nice people, good people. The difference between nice and good means when you're nice to everybody but yourself, that is being nice. When you're a good person is who's nice to those people who need to be nice to, and definitely good to themselves. When you receive unkindness from somebody else, we do not need to be kind to themselves. It is our duty to uphold our respect or love for ourselves, to keep that boundary with that person, to make sure that if you do not respect me, this is how you will be treated. Neutral, neutral, just neutral. We don't have to do anything else. It's very essential to be good to ourselves first point. Second, be good to the people who are good to us, and neutral towards those people who are not good to us. We are not obliged to be good to them, thinking they might turn this or that. That is purely selfish reason. So this is exactly what I was talking about. People who have this kind of a trauma, they end up thinking so many variations of possibilities, how they have to treat a person, how they behave with the person, how they actually do and not to do with the person. And it's like they are trying to win everybody over. If I'm being nice to this person, they might turn nice towards me. Until you do that, then only these kind of people will be that way. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Is we do not need those kind of people in our life. If you're nice to them, then only they'll be nice to you, because they receive something from you for free, and still it's still less what niceness come from them, and they won't be doing the things that you would be doing for them. So if you're such person, the idea of people pleasing, idea of perfection, it all comes from nervous system being controlled by the childhood experience of whatever goes through people's life. It's very essential that we come out of it. It's just that when you grow into in your 40s, 50s, 60s, at some point you probably will realize that when you were younger, you should not have thought about other people's viewpoint of life, because everybody's life is different. Many people do have those kind of regret. When they were younger, they should have lived a little bit easy life, without pushing themselves too hard, without thinking about what others' opinions matters, this kind of a thing. They should have focused on what made them happy. So if you're some person, it is simply because you felt controlled, you felt obliged, you felt like this is what you have to do because of the life experiences, that indoctrination. you know Parents who push their expectation on their children, parents, they have their own traumas to deal with, and they take children as either as a burden or too seriously enough to not even give that emotional support to a child. They raise like strictly, or they spoil their children without saying no. Those kind of thing, extremes. There are a lot of possibilities that can happen, but still the child can grow up wonderfully. Still, these people who think they have no bad habit, they don't have this problem, they don't have any this problem, they don't have any problem, but still they have like these kind of tidying problems, small small issues. This all shows up. It is because of the nervous system, because these kind of kids are raised in such a way that they cannot sit straight without being relaxed. They don't know how to relax. If there is something is that they have to do it first, and then they can go to sleep, because otherwise it will not let them sleep, because they don't know how to relax without finishing every single responsibilities out there. Now if you're a person in your 40s, married, having children, then that is completely different. Taking some responsibility in doing all of those things. But if you're still a younger person, if you're still an old person, then it's better that you learn your ways through all of those things. So what if your bed is messy? So what? You can do it later. If you don't want to do it, let it be. Let it be. If somebody walks in and says something, so let it be. If they call you lazy, let it be. you know it's very funny. The same kind of a people who are very strict with themselves, either they have regarding their food, the kind of people they meet, the kind of life they live, the kind of expectations they have towards themselves is very strict. There is no space for adjustment, and they have very high morals. They have very high personal values. This is okay, to a certain extent this is okay, but what happens is these people either go through a place of extreme burnout to a certain extent, and they either become reclusive for sometimes, or go away from human contact for sometimes, or they become extremely if it is an extrovert person, they become more extrovert because they cannot take those kind of things. There are a lot of effects happens to these kind of people. So even if other people say something about this kind of a behavior, it is one point you have to remember. We are living on earth, and beyond earth there are a lot of things happens. This universe is conscious universe. It is like we are sitting on a gold mine. We ask something and universe says yes. It's because of the free will on earth we can actually use that in a very beneficial way. So when we say this is our boundary, this is acceptable for us, this is not acceptable for us, same way when we put that boundary with the people, universe also observes the same way. Universe also observes the same thing, that okay, this person, this is acceptable, for this person this is not acceptable. Universe always try to support us, always. So it's very essential to be kind and very gentle with ourselves. If you're somebody who needs some kind of warmth, kindness, everybody desire for those kind of things. Even if you look at a stray dog, it would wag its tail and come at you and try to snuggle little if it is warmth. Everybody wants those kind of things. Even if you have a cat at home, if it is winter, it will want it more anyways. So basically, even if you're somebody who doesn't have that emotional values, you would still be happy if somebody shows you some kind of warmth. So basically, our nature is love, means we seek love because we are made up of love. When I say love, I'm not talking about interpersonal, love kind of a thing. Means affection, benevolence. We seek that from each other, right? So when we seek that benevolence, the goodness, it feels really nice if someone is really nice to you, kind to you, appreciates you, points, your likes, your dislikes, what is that you appreciate. Even if you do smallest of the things that you do, and they notice it, and they appreciate it, and they do something to make you feel, wonderful. It's really nice to have those kind of people in our life, isn't it? Yeah, so what if you do that to yourself? This is exactly what we should do. We should be doing the same thing. Notice our good things, letting us be relaxed in a mode. Especially those kids, if you're grown up in a healthy family, that's different. But people, those who grow up in a family where is very strict, grow up in a very stressful family, if you're somebody who grew up with a narcissistic family, people who are takers, grow up with people who always criticize, it's never enough, they always have something to say, they differentiate between their own children, and always makes you confused whether your family loves you or hate you. Sometimes it feels like they love you, sometimes it feels like doesn't love you. They may appreciate an outsider, but they wouldn't be doing the same thing for you. They will support the outsider in front of you. If you're having conversation, for example, if some relatives come or strangers come, having conversation with them, it's so easy, so agreeable with the strangers, but they will not do that with you. That appreciation, that affection, the warmth, the kindness, they will not show. If you're, because of those kind of things, those kids grow up with a lot of anxiousness in them. Like either if you're an empath, even if you're a narcissistic person, if you're a covert narcissist, there are a lot of inferior conflicts can come, and victim mentality can come. If you're an empath, there are a lot of things, people pleasing, and not being able to say no, not being able to putting a boundary with the people, trying to adjust and telling yourself it's okay, it's okay, it's just okay, I'm just a good person, so it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, those kind of thing. And yeah, the idea of perfection, keeping things in a places like that. I may not even say OCD. OCD is a one step more than that. But those are people, if you're going somewhere else in the afternoon, you cannot relax. People who are introverts, if you have an appointment to go somewhere else at 3 o'clock, you may start to think, you know, you have to wake up at this time, you have to take a bath at this time, then you have to prepare your dress for this time, then you have to do this, then they have to do this, then you have to leave your home is this time, it will take this time to reach that place, and you are exactly on point at that time. You're there in these calculations. It's because your brain is trained to be that, like a trained monkey kind of a thing. This is anxiousness not letting you take it easy. Making a plan is really good. Being able to reach a place on time is good, but it's also important to be kind towards her. This is the simplest thing that shows up in a personality on a daily basis. And if you're going somewhere, you pack up your bag last night because you don't want to search for things. Even if you're leaving 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you don't want to do that in the morning, because it just you cannot go to sleep properly. And you pack up every single thing, you check twice, thrice, and these kind of things. People who are borderline OCD, even in a normal things, OCD is an extreme. OCD is also extreme of same situation, because of the psychological issues that happens because of the emotional abandonment, neglect, abuse. They felt helplessness that they felt even as an adult. It doesn't have to be childhood. People grow up, they grow into relationships. It can happen during those time too. But if you're somebody who's still growing up, at any point of your life, no matter how much old you are, whether you're 10 or 90, doesn't matter. When you grow more and become older person, it's most likely inevitable that you realize one day you should have been more kind and gentle with yourself. You should have been listened to your heart more. You should have been given yourself more time more. You should have been, followed your heart and do whatever you wanted more without caring about the world. We are not here to live for the world. We are here to live for ourselves. No, it's not about selfishness. It's little bit selfishness is okay when you are surrounded with people who are not interested in giving you what's actually yours, that affection and warmth, kindness, affirmation, all of those good feelings. It's okay to be there for yourself. It's actually essential to be there for ourselves. It's our duty to be there for ourselves first, to take care of ourselves first, because we manifest things. And when we are in a good place, we tell the universe that this is how I want myself to be treated. I want myself to be treated like this, so treat me like this way. I'll give you a simple example. If you're in a class and suddenly a classmate comes to you and say some negative things, if you're a person with a inferiority complex, or if you're some person who grew up with narcissistic people, who if you're a person who grew up in a family of always a family that always fights, there is always something going on. There is no peace at home. Everybody, either someone is angry, someone is crying, someone is blaming, someone is confused, someone is taking responsibility for every single thing. There is a lot of things are going on. These kind of family people, their ideology is completely different, because they always think about what others will think. What if somebody gets angry on them? So putting boundary with other people comes with the idea of that. What if that person get angry? Especially children are very susceptible to these kind of things. So if somebody like that, they might actually keep quiet or try to behave like a mediator. It's not like that. It's not like that. Please don't misunderstand. Try to convince. If you're somebody who with a lot of self-love, either you wouldn't care what other person is telling you if it is negative, or you will straight up tell, you cannot talk to me like this way. You're not allowed to talk to me this way. What if they get angry? They get angry. So, see, this is where the boundary comes. Exactly when we are in a place when we love ourselves. Even if somebody tells you that do this, do that, we don't have to do it because it is bad for us. That is where it comes. It has to come from self-love, not with the ego. In a similar way, by doing things, by accepting things, by our thought, words, actions, decision, we also send signals to the universe. See, universe, this is acceptable for us, this is not acceptable for us. So when we treat ourselves better, universe also treat us better. They say we are a mini universe within our own self. So we have the ability to change a lot. If you're somebody with that kind of a nervous system, it's because your body is, your senses are very responsive, very sensitive to these kind of smallest of the cues. A person's changing something, small things in their facial expression, in their tone. If somebody sends you a message and you may think, wow, this message feels so different than how usually this person send message. Did that person misunderstand something? Is that person is angry? Is that person is something? No, these kind of a people who have lost a trauma, they correlate everything with themselves and consider as, did they do something to make somebody angry so this message came this way, because the tone of the message is completely different today. No, someone else's mood is not our responsibility. It's because they're in a place that they correlate every single thing, external things, to themselves, and they do that because they didn't had any other choices than survive in their childhood, take all the cues, and pretend like it didn't happen and correspond equally in a comfortable way to protect themselves, to not to get criticized or not to get beaten or not to get negative experiences with that kind of people. So these kind of things, people don't realize it because of the nervous system. So it's very essential that cutting out all the processed food, doing meditation, going for a walk, sitting under the sun for a while, and distancing from whatever it negative, it's a person, a place, a memory, addictions if you have any, those kind of things. And if you don't have anybody, it's better to be alone than being with the wrong people. So the idea of perfection comes from these kind of things. This is exactly what I wanted to say. See, if you want to live like a queen or a king, then that behavior should come from within. Circumstances doesn't matter. We can change the circumstances. When we say this is not acceptable, for example, if you're imagine if your mother or a father cooking something on the stove, and there is a bread or something else. If you are somebody who's adjusting with a little bit more burnt bread, and they may not even think twice to feed you the same thing. But if you're somebody who would outright reject, no, I cannot eat that. Either they will tell you to make yourself and eat it, then you have to do it. Or they will make sure to eat that or dispense that to somewhere else and make a new one because you wouldn't eat it. This is how it is. What we accept, we should be the one who deciding that this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. So this is exactly why it's very essential to be in a place of giving ourselves. Those kind of people I'm talking about. If your idea of perfection, pen should be like that way, the bottle cap should be like that way, you have to keep this open, you have to keep this closed, you have to this way, that way, exactly in every single, even if you're on home, in your office, the way you keep your shoes, it's like clockwork. I suggest that you give yourself a little bit chance to relax. It's because you need to unwind yourself and be kind to yourself. This is what I would suggest. The idea of perfection comes from within. There is no perfection because everything is perfect. People may think somebody put their hair up, it might look perfect for somebody. Somebody might say, well, you look perfect if your hair is down and you don't need that ponytail. It's your ideology. It comes in the same way in every single area of our life. It's our responsibility to be as gentle and kind and forgiving as we can be towards ourselves, to give that to ourselves first and then other follows. So trying to relax a little bit and not to be too pushy, too hard, too judgmental, too criticizing on yourself is really good. And I know we may have lived how many lives in the past, but we are living this life now, however we are living. So whatever we have left, whatever we are still living, it is best that we be kind to ourselves. So releasing ourselves from that kind of controls that comes from outside is good.